Good evening, humans, and welcome to the Spirits of Scone.
A note about witches. In fairy tales, witches always wear silly black hats, black cloaks, and ride on broomsticks. But this is not a fairy tale. This is about real witches. The important thing you should know about real witches is this. Now listen very carefully, never forget what's coming next. Real witches dress in ordinary clothes and look very much like an ordinary woman. They live in ordinary houses and they work in ordinary jobs. That is why they're so hard to catch. A real witch hates children with a red-hot, sizzling hatred that is more sizzling and red-hot than any hatred you could probably imagine. A real witch spends her time plotting on how to get rid of children in her particular territory. Her passion is to do away with them one by one by one. It's all she thinks about all day long. Even if she's working as a cashier in the supermarket, or typing letters for a businessman, or driving around in a fancy car, and she could be doing any of these things, her mind will always be plotting and scheming and churning and burning and whizzing and fizzing with murderous, bloodthirsty thoughts. Which child? She says to herself all day long. Exactly. Which child shall I use for my next squelching? A real witch gets the same pleasure from squelching a child as you get from eating a bowl of strawberries and thick cream. Now she reckons on doing away with one child a week any less than she becomes terribly grumpy. But one child a week is 52 a year. Squish them and squiggle them and make them disappear. That's the motto of all witches. Now very carefully, a victim is chosen. The witch stalks the wretched child like a hunter stalking a little bird in the forest. She treads softly. She moves quietly. She gets closer and she gets closer. Then at last, when everything is ready, bang, she swoops. Sparks fly, flames leap, oil boils, rats howl, skin shrivels, and the child disappears. A witch, you must understand, does not knock children on the head or stick knives in them or shoot them with a pistol. That's just silly. People who do these things get caught by the police. A witch never ever gets caught. Don't forget she has magic in her fingers and devilry dancing in her blood. She can make stones jump like frogs, and she can make tongues of flames go flickering across the surface of water. These magic powers are very, very frightening. Luckily, there's not a great number of real witches left in the world, but there's still enough to make you nervous. In Scotland, there are probably about 100 witches altogether. Some countries have more, some countries have less. But no country is completely free of witches. A witch is always a woman. I don't wish to speak badly about women. Most women are lovely, but the fact remains witches are women. Men are never witches. Real witches are easily the most dangerous of all living creatures on earth. What makes her doubly dangerous is the fact that she doesn't look dangerous. Even when you know all their secrets, and you will hear them in a minute, you can still never be quite sure whether it's a witch you're gazing at or just a kindly lady. If a tiger were able to make himself look like a large dog with a waggy tail, you would probably go up and pat him, and that would be the end of you. It's the same with witches. They all look like nice ladies. For all you know, a witch may be living next door to you right now, Or she may be the woman sat opposite you on the bus this morning. She might also be the lady with the dazzling smile who offered you a sweetie from the white paper bag in the street before lunch. She might even, and this will make you jump, she might even be standing next to you right now. Perhaps she is smiling at the absurdity of such a suggestion. Don't let that put you off. It could be part of her cleverness. If only there were a way of telling you for sure whether a woman was a witch or not. Then we could round them all up and put them in the meat grinder. And happily, there's no such way. But there are a number of little signals we can look for, little quirky habits that all witches have in common. And if you know about these, if you remember them always, then you might just possibly manage to escape for being squelched before you're much older. Tonight, I'm going to tell you how to recognise a real witch when you see one. In the first place, a real witch is certain to always be wearing gloves when you meet her, even in the summer when it's hot. Do you know why? Because she doesn't have fingernails. Instead of fingernails, she has thin, curvy claws, almost like a cat. And she wears gloves to hide them. Mind you, lots of respectable women wear gloves, especially in winter, so this doesn't help you very much. The second thing to remember is a witch is as bald as a boiled egg. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But you can take it from me that not a single hair grows on a witch's head. A real witch always wears a wig to hide her baldness. She wears a first-class wig. And it's almost impossible to tell a really first-class wig from real hair, unless you give it a pull to see if it comes off. Of course, it would be foolish to just go about pulling the hair of every lady you see in the street, even if she's wearing gloves, but just give it a try and see what happens. That doesn't help much either. None of these things are any good on its own. It's only when you put them all together they begin to make a little sense. Mind you, these wigs cause a rather serious problem for witches. They make the scalp most terribly itchy. You see, when an actress wears a wig, or if you were to wear a wig, we would be putting it over your own hair. But a witch has to put it straight onto naked skin. And underneath a wig is always very rough and scratchy. It sets up a frightful itch on the bald head, and it causes nasty sores on her head. Wig rash, witches call it, and it doesn't half itch. Another thing to look for are nose holes. Witches have slightly larger noses than other women, and the rim of each nose is curly, almost like a little seashell. A real witch has the most amazing powers of smell. She can actually smell out a child who is standing across the street in the pitch dark. The thing is, the cleaner you happen to be, the more smelly you are to a witch. An absolutely clean child gives off the most ghastly stench to a witch. The dirtier you are, the less you smell. You're looking at me in disbelief. Trust me, I know. It isn't the dirt the witch is smelling, it's you. The smell that drives a witch mad comes right out of your own skin. It comes oozing out of your skin in waves. These waves, stink waves, witches call them, go floating through the air and hit the witch smack in her nostrils. They send her reeling. The point is, when you haven't washed for a week and your skin is all covered in dirt, then quite obviously the stink waves can't ooze out. It makes sense. Personally, I think bathing once a month is sufficient for children, and boys always agree. Adults can wash every day because they don't give out stink waves. Only children do that. To a real witch, children smell of dogs' droppings. So if you see a woman in the street holding her nose, she could possibly be a witch. So what else must you look for? Ah yes, the eyes. Look carefully in the eyes, because the eyes of a real witch are different from yours and mine. Look in the middle of each eye where the black dot usually is. If she's a witch, the dot will keep changing colour, and you will see fire and you will see ice dancing in her eyes. It will send shivers all down your spine. On the feet, witches never have toes. The feet have square ends with no toes on them at all. It gives them a problem with their shoes. All ladies like to wear rather small pointed shoes, but a witch whose feet are wide and square at the ends has the most awful job squeezing her feet into these little pointed shoes. She daren't wear wide comfy shoes with square ends, because just as she hides her baldness with a wig, she must also hide her witch's feet by squeezing them into pretty shoes. If you watch very closely with ladies with pretty shoes, they may be walking with a slight limp. Oh, I know what I forgot. The spit is blue. If you look very carefully, you'll probably see a slight blue tinge to her teeth. It doesn't show very much. All the more difficult to see this is because witches don't spit. They daren't. So there you are, that's all I can tell you. They are demons in human shape. This is why they have claws and bald heads and queer noses and peculiar eyes, all of which they have to conceal as best they can from the rest of the world. None of it's very helpful, but you can still never be absolutely sure whether a woman is a witch or not. But just looking at her. But if she's wearing the gloves, if she has large nose holes, queer eyes, and hair that looks as though it might be a wig, and she has a bluish tinge to her teeth, if she has any of these things, run away!